And welcome back to Neon Plastic. Now on this week's episode I am showcasing a fantastic self-published volume of Hideous Plastic in Stars Everyone Can Hear You Scream, written by Philip Lodarsky. The book itself is dedicated to the 1979 18-inch tall Kenner Alien action figure, and what a treasure trove this book really is. Everything you could possibly want to know and more. So let's take a look. Okay, so here we go. Now the book contains 300 pages and is in full colour throughout. Okay, and if you collect vintage toys or action figures like I do, then you'll be more than aware of the history of the 18-inch Kenner Alien action figure, and it has been covered in various mediums throughout the decades, but let's be honest, that information has never really changed. The information that is out there has grown stagnant until now. Now, a little bit about the book. I first became aware of this book about 4 years ago when I was surfing the internet looking for photographs of the figure itself. So I found the website and I followed it with great interest, as you would, but it never really got past that. Publishing dates were put back, etc, etc, and then the pandemic happened and I totally forgot all about it. It wasn't until Christmas 2021 when my wife asked me what I would like for Christmas, and I thought, oh, I wonder if that book ever came out. And lo and behold, it had been released. Now, the only place that you can obtain this book, and you can still obtain it there now, is eBay in Australia. And I do believe that there's 20% off the actual price. So obviously, my wife purchased this for me for Christmas, and she said it arrived within 2 weeks. I opened it Christmas morning, read it immediately. Fantastic. But anyway, enough from me. Let's get this open and take a closer look at it. Right, so let's go. So we have the first couple of pages. We have a nice quote here by Dan O'Bannon. I keep trying to imagine it. Alien dolls. I don't see how they have any merchandising potential whatever. Now that is something that is covered in great detail in the first chapter of this book, is how Kenner, the toy company, thought that this would be a hit. So I'll try not to spoil this because I think everybody's adventure should be their own, but I will mention later on some key points about this book. Now, I will say, if you, like me, are very, very fortunate to have this particular action figure in your collection, this is a definitive companion for that figure. So it's been a long time coming. But if you don't, and you're thinking about purchasing one, then you need to read this book also, because it goes through everything. And obviously you may or may not know that this figure has been replicated quite a few times, and they're all documented in this book. So, and it gives you a list of pitfalls, things to look out for. It's ideal. It's absolutely fantastic. I wish I had had this book before I purchased mine. Now, I will be honest and say I got halfway through this and I thought, Christ, I better go and have a look at mine. And thankfully I'm okay, but that just shows the power of a well-written, well-documented book. Anyway, as we go on, so that, as you can see, there's loads and loads of title pages to check out. So some great photography of the action figure itself. Okay, now it's been a long time coming. Now, if you collect toys for financial gain, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But if you're like me, you possess certain pieces in your collection and you just want to know more about it, the design behind it, the concept behind it, the prototypes, the packaging. I just find all that really interesting. Not on everything. I mean, I suppose a good example would be the vintage Star Wars collection. That has been covered many, many times, but it is interesting in what goes on behind the scenes. And the same with the Kenner Alien action figure. And this is the first time that a lot of this information has been readily available for the general public. So, which is why I tend to say that you really do need to get this book. And it's hopefully a start of something to come with regards other action figures and toy lines. But anyway, moving on. So as you can see, there is simply a wealth of information in this book. And also, which I was quite intrigued to see, was a X-ray of this action figure's head. Now, if you own one, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to there, but that is the jaw mechanism. So it's like, oh, that's how that works. It's not just simply a case of some intricately inserted rubber bands, as you would imagine. But moving on. So then there's various articles where it's been covered in collectible toy magazines, etc. But I can't stress enough how important this book is for any vintage toy action figure collector. Okay, so there are references to Star Wars, obviously, because Kenner, as you should know by now, produced all the original vintage Star Wars toys. But it's a good focus point for the story of the Alien. Now, as we move through, it also includes original advertisement leaflets, etc. Highly detailed scans of the free poster that was included with the action figure, and also of interest, different variations of the action figure available not only in the USA but Canada and Western Europe. Now, I wasn't aware of that, so that was rather interesting to read also, and how the packaging was changed. But a fantastic book, it really is. And it also covers a little bit later on Kenner's Aliens action figure and Super 7's reaction line that they brought out. Oh, let's see, is that about 10 years ago now? But there we go. But yeah, fantastic. It really is a definitive guide. Now, I'll quickly move through this because I don't want to show you everything. Obviously, we've got some nice concept art for the original action figure. There we go. So that's interesting, isn't it? Stuff like this. I find it, oh, it amazes me. And there's a rare photograph of the original designer, H.R. Geiger, with the action figure. So I've never seen that photograph before. But some highly detailed photographs of the figure itself. Now, there's a couple of interesting points here. It doesn't necessarily mean that the action figure is a reproduction if it doesn't have these, but it just lends more credibility to your action figure being one of the Western European or Canadian releases. So as you can see here, this is the trigger mechanism for the jaw, but it is clearly marked 1979 Kenner products. So that is a good sign to look for. And also on the dome, which is heavily reproduced, I might add, and it gives you the telltale signs to what to look for if you find one on the secondary market to make sure it's original. It's little things like that. It's great. Absolutely fantastic. Now this is the mechanism of the head that I was talking about earlier. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic? And all the while you're looking at it, you've got to remember this is just for a toy. Wow. The mechanics behind that. Fantastic. Now then, this is another little thing. It's a little, maybe I've just been a little bit slow, but I was really into Alien as a child. And that's obviously when I became aware that there was an action figure for it. I think it was in the back of Creepy or Eerie comics from Warren magazines. But anyway, I always wondered what these spines were for on the back of the Alien, throughout the design. And in this small article, it was simply to detract the viewer's eye that it was a man in a suit. I was like, wow, is that all? Is that it? But things like that. Just tons of wealth of information, and it's all backed up by credible evidence. So it's not just hearsay, which is very important at this stage. I think you'll agree. And here we are onto the packaging. Now this guy, the author of this book, you can clearly see he's a fan of this action figure. He states many times that he owns quite a few of these, all in various states. But yeah, ages 5 and up. But I say that's covered a little bit earlier. But we have high resolution scans of the free poster. But yeah, I can't say enough about this book. It's a must. That's all I can say. It is a must. And I hope that other well-established collectors get their heads down and start writing books about other action figures and collectibles. I'd love to read one about Mattel's Clash of the Titans Kraken toy. Now that is a fantastic toy, and again, very fortunate I own one, and I'd love to know more about it, but it's, you know, maybe with the passage of time. But anyway, this is the book. So I'm going to show you a couple of the key points on my action figure, which I raced through to check as I was reading this because I had a little bit of a panic. But there you go. Absolutely fantastic. Can't recommend it enough. Right, so here we have my original 18-inch Kenner Alien action figure, and the reason why it's on the side is it's so big it won't fit in the frame, but I just want to use it to highlight just 2 of the many points raised in this book. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the head, so I'll just remove the dome because we'll take a closer look at that in a moment. Now then, for those of you that aren't aware, this little piece here is actually the trigger for the jaw. Now mine clearly says, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, I hope so, says product GRP 1979. So I know that this is an official United States Kenner release. Now for those released in Canada and Western Europe, obviously they were released through various other toy suppliers. This appears either on the opposite side or not at all. So that's one interesting point out of many. Now, one main focus of this book, it explains how to validate the dome. Now, the dome is often lost as it's loose or especially broken. Now you'll notice it's a very dull brown colour, okay, smoky brown, but as I stated earlier, I rushed through to check mine. The only way to validate if this is an original dome, now hopefully you'll be able to see it, there are 2 casting loops or moulding loops just there. You can see them. Now if the dome you have in your collection does not have these casting loops, then there's a good chance that your dome is reproduction. Okay, so that was a really interesting point. I was like, wow, because I have seen these on the secondary market, and obviously you wonder, how can you tell if it's original? Well, there you go. So that's just one example of how you can tell this is an original. I mean, there are a few you can tell the reproductions are slightly bigger and they don't sit correctly, but there you go. So that's just 2 points out of many mentioned in this book. Now it also aids you in repairing your action figure as well, so that's an interesting section to read. But if you're just wanting to validate your own in your own collection, or you want to make more of an informed purchase on the secondary market, or it's just purely out of interest, this book is the ultimate Alien collectible. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it interesting. Now this book is still available. You can, a strict internet search will find it, or basically just go on eBay, okay, because it is available worldwide. But I highly recommend it. But anyway, thank you very much for your time. Hope you've enjoyed it. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
Oh, I got a live one here.